a singer with a broken heart, a billionaire hiding his scars. Don't miss this heart-melting story of passion, healing, and second chances. Discover Valentina and Aidan's full story, from heartbreak to forever. Watch the full story now, and dive into a love that will steal your breath away.
There's a kind of silence that only exists when you've lost everything. Not the kind of loss people whisper about in tabloids or tag in clickbait headlines. I'm talking about the real kind. The one that strips your name, your pride, and the music right out of your chest. That's the silence I carried with me when I left LA at 2 a.m, sunglasses hiding swollen eyes, fingers trembling around the steering wheel of a rented SUV. Just a duffel bag, my acoustic guitar, and the wreckage of a reputation I used to be proud of. You probably saw the photos. Everyone did. Me. Him. That hotel balcony in Mykonos. Private moments sold for clicks. And the worst part? It wasn't the betrayal. It was the knowing smirk on his face when he said, "Don't worry, baby. Scandal sells."
So I ran.
No press release, no team. I canceled my tour mid-run and vanished like a ghost that never really mattered. The house I found was buried in the woods just outside a town no one from LA could pronounce. The listing said, secluded, serene, perfect for artists seeking inspiration. I didn't want inspiration. I wanted to disappear. When I arrived, it was already dark. The trees loomed like quiet guardians around the cabin, if you could even call it that. It was more like a damn lodge. Tall windows, sleek black wood, cold modern angles softened by the wild green swallowing a whole. I stepped inside and took a breath. What? Fresh air. No cameras. No handlers. Just me. For the first time in months. I didn't feel like a product. I felt like a person. I dropped my bag, walked barefoot through the open space, and leaned against the cool countertop in the kitchen. The silence wrapped around me, warm and thick. I poured a glass of red from the bottle I'd grabbed on the way and padded upstairs, stripped to nothing, and stood under the scalding shower until my skin remembered how to feel. Later, wrapped in a robe too soft to be cheap, I wandered onto the balcony. The night air kissed my damp skin, and I closed my eyes. I didn't know who I was without a spotlight, but maybe here, I'd figured out. And that was the night I made a promise to myself. No more scandals. No more men who saw me as a headline.
No more masks.
Just Valentina.
Singer.
Survivor. And maybe, just maybe, someone still capable of love. Of course, I had no idea that the house I'd rented, my sanctuary, my fresh start, belonged to a man who hated everything I was. A man who would challenge every boundary I thought I'd rebuilt. Aidan Blake. But we'll get to him soon enough.
I don't like surprises. Not the kind that show up wrapped in bows. Not the kind that make people laugh or cry or scream in delight. I built my life around the quiet, around control, around knowing every inch of the world I live in and keeping it exactly the way I want it. So when I drove up the mountain after 3 weeks in Zurich, ready for nothing but silence, a glass of scotch, and the view from my balcony, I wasn't expecting to find a goddamn pop star dancing barefoot in my living room, music blaring, candles lit, hair falling in wild curls down her back as she swayed like she owned the place. At first, I thought I'd walked into the wrong house, or that maybe the agency had screwed up the listing. But then I saw her face. Valentina Monroe. Even I knew that name. You couldn't exist in America without hearing her voice at least once. The girl with the sultry rasp and the dangerous curves. The woman who dominated the charts and then disappeared without a trace. And now she was here, in my house, wearing a silk robe that didn't quite close all the way and holding a wine glass like it was part of her hand. She didn't even flinch when she saw me, just raise an eyebrow like I was the one trespassing.
You're not the cleaner.
No, I'm the owner. That got her attention. She blinked, once, twice, then the glass slowly lowered. And for a second, just a heartbeat. I saw something flicker across her face. Vulnerability, maybe, or fear. But it vanished as quickly as it came, replaced by that glossy, well-trained indifference famous people wear like armor.
The agency said it was available.
It was for artists, not runaways with Spotify plaques. Her jaw tightened.
I didn't know it was yours. I'll leave.
And for some reason, I didn't want her to. She was fire and glitter in a place built for shadows. A contradiction I didn't ask for, but couldn't look away from. And though everything in me screamed to throw her out, to reclaim the silence, I lived for something else. Something reckless said, let her stay. Temporarily. Fine, I said. You can stay. A week. 2, max. Her eyes narrowed. Suspicion. Curiosity. But there are rules. I added. No loud music after 10. No guests. And stay out my studio. Ever. She tilted her head.
Studio?
Don't ask. A smirk tugged at her lips.
You don't talk much, do you?
I don't need to. I listen. Her gaze lingered on me for a second too long. Then she turned, her robe swaying dangerous at the curve of her hips, and disappeared down the hall like this was her kingdom, not mine. I stood there, breathing in the perfume she left behind, jasmine and trouble. God help me. I just invited chaos into my sanctuary, and I had no idea how badly it was going to burn.
Day 4. No music after 10, no guests, no entering the mysterious studio, and absolutely no talking unless he starts it. Living with Aidan Blake is like living with a statue carved out of sarcasm and self-righteousness. A very tall, unfairly attractive statue, but cold as granite and twice as impossible. He's everywhere and nowhere at once. He moves like silence itself, always barefoot, always brooding, with his habit of standing in doorways and watching. Never saying a word, just looking. And I hate that I can feel it. Every time his eyes linger. Every time he walks past without acknowledging me, and I still get goosebumps like a damn teenager in a CW show. Today, I tried playing the piano. The keys were slightly out of tune, and I liked that. Imperfection is honest. It doesn't lie the way people do. I was halfway through something soft, something I was building from scratch, when the door swung open.
You're not supposed to be in here.
He didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. His tone was a whip wrapped in velvet. It's not the studio, I shot back, fingers still resting on the keys. It's the sunroom, with a piano in it. Sorry if that offends your monk-like lifestyle. His jaw clenched.
I saw it.
That piano belonged to my sister.
Oh, shit.
I stood, suddenly hyper-aware of the hem of my dress and the heat creeping up my neck. I didn't know. I wasn't trying to.
I don't care what you were trying. You walk through this house like you own it, like you belong here. You don't.
He cut in, stepping closer. Something in me snapped. Then why let me stay? Huh? My voice rose, sharp, raw. You had every right to throw me out, but you didn't. You just keep hovering, judging, making your little rules, like you're punishing me for existing in your precious cave. His eyes darkened, and for a second, I thought he'd shout or walk away, but he didn't. He stepped even closer, close enough that I had to tilt my chin to meet his gaze. His body radiated heat, like fire simmering just beneath the surface.
You're not the only one hiding, Valentina.
The words hit me like a chord I wasn't ready for. My lips parted, but nothing came out. Not a melody, not a breath. And then he reached up. One hand. Just one. He brushed a strand of hair away from my cheek, and the touch was so careful, so deliberate, that my whole body reacted before my brain could catch up. The air between us shifted. Thicker. Heavier. His thumb hovered at the corner of my mouth. I should have pulled back. I didn't. Instead, I leaned into it. Just a fraction. His hand dropped. He exhaled like he'd just stopped himself from doing something reckless.
This doesn't mean anything.
He murmured. I smiled. Slow and dangerous. Keep telling yourself that. And I walked out. But my heart was pounding so loud, I couldn't hear anything else for hours.
She sings when she's making coffee. Soft, under her breath, like she doesn't even realize it. Not full choruses, just little pieces. Half melodies and murmured lyrics that echoed down the hallway and lodged themselves in places I thought were long dead. And I hate it, because I can't stop listening. Valentina Monroe is ruining my house. Not with noise or mess, though God knows she leaves a trail of throw blankets and candles everywhere she goes. But with her presence, her scent, her voice, her wild, untamed energy that doesn't fit into the clean, structured world I built after everything fell apart. She's sunshine in a thunderstorm, and I spent years learning how to live in the rain. I used to wake up at 5 a.m. sharp. Coffee, cold shower, studio, work, solitude. Now I wake up to the sound of her humming through the damn walls. I catch myself noticing how her hips sway when she walks barefoot across the kitchen tile, how her shirt rides up just slightly when she stretches to reach a mug, how she looks out the window like she's waiting for something better to come, even though she has no idea she's the better thing. It's infuriating. So I put space between us. I avoid the kitchen in the morning. I take longer hikes. I lock my studio even tighter. But none of it works, because then she leaves little things behind. Notes scribbled in the margins of newspapers, lipstick smudges on glassware, a scarf tossed over the back of my chair like it belongs there, like she belongs here. And tonight, I snapped. I walked into the living room to find her sprawled across the couch, legs tucked under her, wearing my flannel shirt. My shirt, as if it were nothing. The fire was low, casting gold over her skin. Her eyes met mine, slow, lazy like she'd been waiting.
What? Too casual for Casa Blake?
She asked, head tilted, mouth curved. I didn't answer. I couldn't, because the way she looked in that moment. Bare legs, sleepy eyes, that goddamn shirt hanging open just enough, sent a jolt through me I hadn't felt in years. The kind that turns logic into mist. You shouldn't wear that, I muttered. She grinned.
Why? Because it's yours?
No, I said, because I don't want to think about how you smell like me when I'm trying to forget you're even here. The silence stretched. Her smile faded. Something softer moved into her gaze. Something curious, dangerous.
So, forget me.
She stood, walked toward me, slow, controlled, predatory.
Forget I'm in your house. Forget I sleep 2 doors down. Forget how close you stood in the sunroom, or how your hand lingered on my face longer than it should have.
I stepped back. She didn't stop.
I've been forgotten before, Aidan, but I don't think that's what you want.
I should have told her to back off, to go to her room, to stop. Instead, I turned away, said nothing, held on to the last thread of restraint I had left, because if I looked at her for one more second, I was going to do something I couldn't undo. And I already knew she wasn't something I could keep. But God help me, she was becoming something I couldn't let go.
The lights went out mid-thunderclap. 1 second, I was microwaving popcorn. The next, I was standing barefoot in the kitchen, bathed in silence and shadow, with nothing but the wind screaming outside and my pulse drumming in my ears. I thought I'd be scared. I wasn't. Not until I realized Aidan was standing behind me.
Storm took the power.
He said, voice low, calm. Too calm. I turned, squinting in the dark, just able to make out his shape. Tall, broad shoulders, tension carved into every line of him. I wondered if he'd always looked at me that way when I wasn't paying attention. He handed me a flashlight. Our fingers touched. Just for a second. I shouldn't have felt it, but I did. It was like a warning. We ended up in the living room, a dozen candles flickering around us, casting the space in a soft, golden glow. Outside, the storm raged. But inside it was still.
Too still.
I wrapped a blanket around my legs and sat cross-legged on the floor, watching him pour whiskey into 2 glasses like he did it every night for company he didn't ask for. "So," I said, half smiling, "what does the elusive Aidan Blake do during power outages? Read philosophy by candlelight? Plot how to evict glittery pop stars from his mountain?" His mouth curved.
Just barely.
It was the first almost smile I'd seen from him.
Usually, I enjoy the silence.
He said, sitting across from me. "You mean, before I moved in and ruined it?" He looked at me then. Really looked.
Yeah, exactly.
He said quietly. The honesty stung. But it wasn't cruel.
It was
Stripped down. Like the storm outside had taken down more than just the power lines. Maybe the walls around him, too. I sipped the whiskey.
warm.
Smooth. Dangerous. He watched my mouth like it held answers to questions he wasn't ready to ask. And suddenly, it felt like the room was too small for all the things we weren't saying. I used to be afraid of the dark, I admitted, surprising myself. When I was a kid, but not because I thought there were monsters in it. I was afraid no one would come looking for me. He didn't respond right away. Then he said,
"And now?"
I looked at him, candlelight dancing in his eyes. The air between us thick with something neither of us had the courage to name. "Now?" I whispered. "I think I like it, because in the dark, you don't have to pretend." I wasn't sure if I meant him or me. Maybe both. Then he leaned forward,
Slow.
deliberate, and kissed me. It wasn't soft. It wasn't tentative. It was everything we'd been holding back. All the silence, the stares, the fights, the heat. It collided in that kiss like thunder rolling down the mountain. His hand slid into my hair. Mine gripped his shirt. And for a moment, I forgot everything. The world, the storm, the rules. Because in the dark, Aidan Blake didn't feel cold. He felt like fire.
I shouldn't have kissed her. The thought hits me the moment I close my bedroom door behind me. My pulse still thrumming like a goddamn drumline in my throat. I press my back against the wood, eyes shut tight, jaw clenched like I can lock the memory away, like I can force it out of me. But I can't, because Valentina Monroe is still on my lips. Her taste, something sweet and infuriatingly addictive, clings to my mouth like sin, like temptation, like I want more. Her breathless little gasp when I pulled her closer, the way her fingers curled into my shirt like she didn't want to let go, the heat of her body under my hands, her mouth opening under mine like she'd been waiting for that moment all her life. And I kissed her like I hadn't wanted anything more in years. Because I hadn't. The kiss was never supposed to happen. We were sitting there in the candlelight, the storm rumbling in the background like a warning neither of us listened to. She was looking at me like she saw something in me, something worth saving, and I lost my goddamn mind. I leaned in. She let me, and then we crashed. It started slow. My lips brushed hers, testing, tasting. I thought I'd pull back. I didn't. Instead, I took more, needed more. My hand slid into her hair, and when she sighed into my mouth, something broke inside me. Something hard and sharp and long buried. I deepened the kiss, pulled her onto my lap without thinking, and the blanket slipped off her shoulders like it had been waiting for permission. Her skin was warm and soft against mine, and I swear, when her hips shifted, when her nails grazed the back of my neck, I almost lost control. Almost. But I did the stupidest thing I could have done. I stopped. I pulled away like a coward, heart racing, hands shaking. She blinked up at me, confused, lips parted and kissed drunk and beautiful in the low glow of the firelight. I told her I needed air. I lied. What I really needed was space. Distance. To forget how her mouth felt under mine. To forget that for a second, I let myself want her. Now I'm pacing the floor like a man who just detonated his own piece. She's still in the living room, still glowing in my head, still undoing me with every breath I take. And I hate it. I'm not the man who kisses pop stars in the middle of a storm. I'm not the man who lets someone in just because she sings a sad truth in the dark. I'm not vulnerable. But that kiss tore through every wall I built. And the worst part? I want to do it again.
I chose the red one. Tiny, barely there. The kind of bikini you don't wear to swim. You wear it to make a man lose his mind. The water in the lake was still, glassy. The sun hung low, casting golden shadows on the ripples as I slipped in, slow, dramatic, every movement calculated. I didn't know if he'd come, but I hoped he would. I'd been waiting for him to crack, for the ice in his eyes to melt. Ever since that kiss during the blackout, Aidan Blake had done everything in his power to pretend it hadn't happened. Cold glances, silent meals, doors that shut just a little too hard. But he felt it. I knew he did. So I gave him something he couldn't ignore. The water hugged my skin, cool and teasing. I floated on my back, eyes closed, letting the sunlight kiss every curve he tried not to look at. When I heard the crunch of gravel from the trail behind the trees, I didn't open my eyes. I just smiled.
Hook. Line.
Billionaire.
Seriously?
His voice was deeper than I remembered, rougher. I opened my eyes slowly, stretching lazily in the water, like a siren that knew exactly what she was doing. Afternoon swim, I said innocently, paddling toward the shallow edge where he stood like a thundercloud in black jeans. His shirt was unbuttoned at the top, sleeves rolled up, jaw tight. And his eyes, God, his eyes were eating me alive.
You're doing this on purpose.
Doing what? I tilted my head, stepping out of the water slow, each drop sliding down my body like an invitation. Using the lake I'm paying for, he didn't move,
Didn't blink.
just stared. And then he snapped. He grabbed me by the wrist, pulled me into him so fast I lost my breath. His mouth crushed mine with a hunger he couldn't hide anymore. There was nothing soft about it. No hesitation. Just months of tension unraveling in one reckless, perfect collision. My fingers tangled in his hair. His hands roamed my soaked skin like he needed to memorize every inch. He pressed me against a tree, the bark scraping my back, the heat between us searing.
Tell me to stop.
He growled against my lips. "Don't you dare stop," I whispered, wrapping my legs around his waist. We didn't make it to the bedroom. The forest became our witness. The lake, our soundtrack. And Aidan Blake, the man who'd tried so hard to resist me, finally gave in like a storm breaking open the sky. The moment he lifted me into his arms, I forgot every reason I'd ever had to hold back. Aidan wasn't just kissing me, he was devouring me, like he'd been starving for months, and I was the only thing that could satisfy him. My back pressed against the thick trunk of the pine, my bikini bottoms pushed aside with one swift movement. His hands were everywhere, strong, sure, desperate. The sunlight filtered through the trees, turning his hair to molten gold as he kissed down my neck, lower, lower, until my breath caught and my hips arched into him. I tugged his shirt open, buttons scattering in the grass, revealing his chest, firm and warm against my palms. My nails dragged across the skin, and he hissed through his teeth, like even my touch burned him.
We didn't speak. We didn't need to.
The only sounds were the quiet rustling of leaves, the lapping of water at the lake's edge, and the way we moaned each other's names like prayers. He laid me down on a blanket of moss, the earth soft beneath us, his body covering mine as the shadows stretched. Every movement was slow, deliberate. He wanted to feel all of me, to take his time, to remember it. And I wanted to give it to him. Every gasp, every arch, every pulse that told him I wanted this just as much. We made love again by the edge of the water, my hair soaked, clinging to my shoulders, his mouth hot against my skin. Then again under a tree, as the sky began to blush pink and lavender. He worshipped me with his mouth, with his hands, with the way he whispered my name against my thigh, like it was sacred. I rode him slow, my fingers tangled in his hair, both of us trembling at the edge of pleasure until we finally broke apart, together. By the time the stars took over the sky, we were lying side by side on the cool grass. My head rested on his chest, his arm draped around my waist. We were still catching our breath, bodies sore and flushed, our skin smelling like pine and sweat and sin. And when he finally spoke, his voice hoarse, low, I felt something shift inside me.
You drive me crazy.
He murmured. I smiled against his chest, eyes closed. Good. We didn't go back to the house that night. Under the stars and breathless moans, I didn't feel like a pop star in hiding. I felt wanted.
Claimed.
And for the first time since the world turned its back on me, I felt alive.
She was still sleeping when I left the lake. Golden hair tangled over the mossy blanket, bare skin glowing faintly in the soft, early light. One arm stretched toward where I'd been lying, as if even in her dreams, she didn't want to let me go. But I went anyway. I walked back barefoot, shirt missing, chest tight with something far more dangerous than lust. Every step I took away from her felt like betrayal, but staying would have been worse. For her, for me, because what happened last night, that wasn't just sex. It wasn't just release or escape. It was too much. She got under my skin, softly, sweetly, and now she's lodged in places I swore no one would ever touch again. I took a cold shower, burned my tongue on bitter coffee, tried to convince myself that I could forget the sound she made when she came against my mouth, the way her thighs trembled, how she held on to me like I was the only thing anchoring her to earth. Try to forget the way I held her after, like she was the only thing anchoring me. But memory is a bitch, and so is desire, especially when you want someone you shouldn't. She didn't come back to the house until almost noon. Her eyes flicked to mine, hesitant. I looked away, said nothing. The air between us was thick, suffocating, and I could feel her question hanging silently. What does this mean? I didn't answer. I just left the room. Because the truth is, if I keep her close, I'll ruin her. If I push her away, I'll ruin myself. And I don't know which is worse. That night, I lay awake, jaw clenched, sheets kicked off the bed. I could still smell her on my skin, still feel her riding me in the grass, moaning my name, looking at me like I was hers, like I deserve her softness, her light. I don't. I know what happens when I care too much. I know what I become. And Valentina, she's not built for the storm inside me. So I stay quiet, cold, distant. But every time she walks by in one of those damn little sundresses, every time she hums a melody in the kitchen or looks at me like she knows me, God help me, I want to break my silence with her name.
He's not in the kitchen. Again. Not on the porch. Not in the studio. Not down by the lake. And I swear to God, if I find him hiding in that damn workshop with his brooding face and arms crossed like some tortured mountain god, I'll lose it. 2 days. 2 days of silence. 2 days of pretending like nothing happened between us, like I didn't give him my body, my breath, my trust. Like I didn't watch him fall apart inside me and hold him through it. He thinks he's the only one haunted by things. He thinks I don't know what it's like to be burned and left behind.
Fine.
If he wants to disappear into the walls, let him. But he's going to hear me first. I storm into the workshop without knocking, and yep, there he is. Bent over some piece of wood, shirt stretched across those stupid, perfect shoulders, pretending I don't exist. My voice slices through the air before I can stop myself. You don't get to pretend that night didn't happen. His back stiffens, but he doesn't turn. So I walk right up to him, into his space, his silence, and shove my voice into the void he keeps trying to hide inside. You kissed me like you meant it, Aidan. Touched me like I was something you'd been starving for. And then you vanish like a damn ghost. His jaw tightens. That muscle ticks like a warning. But I'm not afraid of him. Not anymore. I'm not asking you for love songs or morning after pancakes. But don't you dare treat me like I imagined it. Like it was some kind of accident.
Now he looks at me.
Finally. Those steel gray eyes lock on mine, and it hits me, he's hurting. He just wears it in reverse. With distance. With walls. But I've scaled enough walls in my life to know when someone's building them to hide, not protect. I don't regret that night. I say, softer now, but still fierce. Not one damn second of it. He opens his mouth, but I cut him off with a raised hand. No, if you're going to say it was a mistake, don't. Lie to yourself all you want, but don't you put that lie on me. I turn to go, my heart slamming against my ribs, every step away from him feeling like fire. But before I reach the door, I stop. I'm not the girl who waits around hoping a man will pick me. I've fought too hard for my voice, my worth, to accept crumbs. I glance back, and for the first time, I see it. Fear in his eyes. Not of me, of feeling. Too bad. Because I felt everything. And I'm not sorry.
The smell of rain always brings her back. It's not logical. It's not even real. But when the sky turns that moody gray and the earth breathes damp and heavy, I swear I can hear her laugh. Isabel, my sister. God. She was sunlight in combat boots. Always barefoot in the rain, spinning in the street like she was dancing with the storm. She didn't care who watched. Hell, she wanted them to watch.
Let them stare. They only wish they could feel this alive.
She used to say. I'd stand under the awning, dry, stiff in my hoodie, pretending not to worry she'd catch pneumonia, pretending not to love her wildness so much it scared me. But I did worry. I worried all the time. The night she died, it was raining. I hadn't talked to her in 3 days. We'd fought. She said she was doing a shoot in L.A., something edgy, fearless, raw. I told her it was reckless. I told her the industry would eat her alive, that they didn't care about her soul, only the skin she was willing to show. She laughed.
Stop trying to save me, Aidan. You don't get to clip my wings just because you're afraid to fly.
Those are the last words she ever said to me. The next day, the paparazzi chased her car off a canyon road. A blurry photo of her lifeless body ended up on every front page from New York to Tokyo. I couldn't breathe for a week. Couldn't look in a mirror without seeing her eyes in mine. Couldn't turn on a screen without hearing her name dragged through the sludge of headlines and hashtags. Tragic starlet dies young. She always did love attention. That world, that sick, hollow circus, that's who killed her. Not the driver, not the rain, not the curve in the road. And when Valentina walked into my house, wearing fame like perfume, dripping with beauty and wounds and a past caught in a million flashes, my body remembered before my brain did. It wasn't just desire that made me want to push her away. It was fear. It was guilt. It was that echo of Isabel, dancing barefoot in the chaos, defying everything I couldn't protect her from. But Valentina isn't Isabel. She's fire, yes, but not reckless. She hides her pain behind lipstick and stubbornness, not laughter. She's not chasing the spotlight. She's running from it. And that's what undoes me, because I see her finally clearly. And I realize she isn't the enemy. She never was.
It started with a ping. Just one. My phone buzzed on the edge of the kitchen island, harmless and casual like it did every other morning. I remember I was barefoot, wearing one of Aidan's flannel shirts over my barely there sleep shorts, humming something off-key as I made coffee. And then I saw the notification. Breaking, Valentina Monroe and Aidan Blake, secret lovers hiding in the mountains. The headline was bold. The photo underneath even bolder.
Me.
Laughing, leaning into his chest in front of the cabin. Aidan, shirtless, holding a damn mug like he was in a coffee commercial. His hand was on my waist. My mouth was dangerously close to his jaw.
Intimate.
Real. And everywhere. I froze. My heart stuttered, crashed, then started again at a sprint. No, I whispered, scrolling, panicking. No, no, no. The article had my agent's name, my ex-manager's comment, a blurred aerial shot of the lake, a quote from some gossip analyst talking about my scandalous rebound and his reclusive meltdown. And when Aidan walked in, everything exploded. He didn't say a word at first, just held up his phone and showed me the same picture. I opened my mouth to explain, but he beat me to it.
You called them.
It wasn't a question. It was a bullet. I blinked. What?
You called them. You set this up. You wanted back in the headlines.
He repeated, voice flat, eyes glinting with that stormy, cold fury I hadn't seen since the day we met. My stomach dropped. Are you out of your mind?
You wanted to come back. And what better way than screwing the broken recluse in the woods? Poor Aidan Blake, tragic backstory and sexy abs.
Aidan.
I was the story.
His words were sharp, cruel, deliberate. And I knew they were coming from a place of pain.
But they still ripped straight through my chest.
I stepped back, shaking. I didn't tell anyone. I would never do that to you.
Funny, considering they knew exactly where to find us.
I couldn't breathe. The kitchen felt too small. His voice too loud. The walls too close. You think I wanted this? You think I planned this nightmare? My throat tightened. God, I thought you knew me better than that. He just stared. No apology. No softness. Just that wall of distrust slamming between us like a locked door. And that was the moment I knew I had to leave. I didn't cry. Not until I was in the car, headlights cutting through the dark mountain road. I didn't even pack. Just threw on jeans, shoved my phone in my bag, and walked out the front door like it didn't kill me. Because staying would have been worse. He didn't stop me.
Didn't chase me.
And the silence in my chest, in his doorway, in that damned place we made love in just days ago, was louder than any scream.
The silence is the worst part. It's not the kind of silence that feels peaceful or meditative or earned. It's the kind that creeps in and clings to everything, like frost on glass, like the echo of something precious that slipped through your fingers too fast. She's gone. I don't know why I expected to hear her laugh when I walked downstairs this morning. Maybe some delusional part of me thought she'd still be standing barefoot in my kitchen, stealing strawberries out of a bowl and humming some ridiculous pop song off key. Maybe I thought she'd be on the couch, wrapped in a blanket too big for her, scrolling her phone and pretending not to watch me when she absolutely was. But the couch is empty, the bowl of fruit untouched, and my entire house feels like it's holding its breath. Her scent still lingers on the throw pillow she slept against the night after the storm. Vanilla and citrus. Something bright, something that made everything feel alive. I pick it up, press it to my face like an idiot, and instantly hate myself for it. I don't deserve to miss her, but I do. God, I do. I walk into the living room and stare out at the lake. The surface is calm now. Nothing like the storm that blew through the night before she left. That storm felt like a warning. The stillness feels like punishment. Her bikini is still drying on the porch railing. I should take it down. Hide it. Pretend she was never here. Instead, I just sit and remember her breathless giggle as she ran into the water, the shimmer of moonlight on her wet skin, the way she whispered my name like it meant something. I press my fingers to my lips, and I swear I can still taste her. That kiss, that fire, that goddamn connection, I didn't want and now can't live without. And yet I pushed her away. I accused her, shamed her. I looked her in the eyes and made her believe she meant nothing. And now the house that once felt like my escape feels like a mausoleum. Still, cold, hollow, just like I asked for. I glance at the front door. It's been closed since she walked through it for the last time. Slammed, actually, her footsteps echoing behind it like thunder. I thought solitude was safety. But without her, it's just loneliness. And the truth I can't outrun is simple, brutal, and absolute. Valentina didn't ruin my peace. She was my peace. And now all I have is the echo of her in a house that suddenly doesn't feel like home.
LA is loud again. Horns, sirens, the clatter of heels on pavement, the dull roar of ambition in every overpriced cafe, every meeting room, every studio that smells like stale coffee and broken dreams. I'm back where I started, but it doesn't feel like I ever left. It feels like the version of me that returned isn't the same woman who disappeared into the woods weeks ago. She's quieter now, hollow in places no one can see. They think I'm glowing. They say I look rested. God, if they only knew. The contracts are piled high in front of me. New opportunities, streaming deals, a potential world tour. It should all feel like victory, right? Like I won the game everyone warned me was rigged. But my pen hesitates over the dotted line. Because when I close my eyes, I don't see red carpets or flashbulbs. I see sunlight filtering through pine trees. I see a lake that knew all my secrets. I see a man with haunted eyes and hands that made me forget how to breathe. Aidan. His name is a whisper I don't say out loud. Not in these rooms. Not in this life. But he's there. Every note I try to sing. Every breath I draw before the melody escapes. I tried today. I really tried. I walked into the studio, stood behind the mic, and asked for silence. My producer gave me a thumbs up from the other side of the glass. The band waited. Everything was perfect.
Except me.
I opened my mouth, and the truth just wasn't there. It used to pour out of me, like wildfire, like rain, like heartbreak I didn't have to fake.
But today?
It was like chasing a ghost I couldn't touch. The words were right. The tone was right. But the soul?
Gone.
And I knew, in that moment, that I left it somewhere between his bedsheets and the front porch I stormed off of without looking back. I didn't just walk away from him. I walked away from the only place I've ever really felt seen.
Heard.
Wanted. And I thought coming back to the city would remind me who I was. But all it's done is show me how much of her I left behind. In the silence of my penthouse, surrounded by glitter and glass, I pull out my guitar. My fingers fall into the chords like muscle memory.
But the sound? Flat. Pretty. Polished.
Lifeless. I press my forehead to the body of the guitar and close my eyes. His voice fills my mind.
Low. Rough.
That damn smirk in it when he teased me. The reverence in it when he said my name in the dark. That was my truth. And now all I have are empty songs and a city that feels colder than ever. He was the storm I never saw coming, and the calm I never knew I needed.
The limo door slammed behind me. Noise, heat, flashing lights. I hadn't seen this many screaming fans since my sister's red carpet premiere 10 years ago. But this time, I wasn't here for a premiere. I wasn't here for the crowd. I wasn't here for the cameras. I was here for her, Valentina Monroe. And she was about to walk onto that stage like a goddess reborn, poised, polished, perfect, and completely out of my reach if I waited even one more second. I shoved past a security guard who tried to stop me, ignoring the frantic chatter in my earpiece and the wide-eyed assistant shouting something about no unauthorized access. Too late. I was already backstage. And there she was. Her back was turned, but I'd know that silhouette anywhere. The curve of her spine in that sleek, glittering dress. The way her hair fell like waves I'd once tangled my fingers in while she sighed my name against my neck. Her lips moved silently, mouthing lyrics. Focused, unshakable. She didn't know I was there yet. I froze for a beat, God, she looked like a star. Not the kind you reach for, the kind you go blind trying to hold. Valentina, I said. She turned. Her eyes widened like she'd seen a ghost. Or maybe just a mistake she never wanted to repeat.
What are you?
She started, but I didn't let her finish. I crossed the space between us, ignoring the noise, the crew, the time ticking down before curtain. My hand cupped the back of her neck, and I kissed her, right there, right in front of everyone. I kissed her like I'd been drowning, and she was the only air left on earth. Like the last 48 hours of agony without her were punishment, I had finally decided to end, and she kissed me back. Just for a second, just long enough for the world to vanish. Long enough to remember the heat of her body curled against mine, the taste of her skin after the lake, the way she used to say my name when she was barely holding it together. Then she pulled away.
Aidan.
She whispered, voice shaking. I stepped back, hands up like I was surrendering to her judgment. I accused you of something you didn't do. I said, heart thudding so hard I felt it in my teeth. I let my pain speak louder than my truth. But I'm done hiding. From you. From this. The crew was frozen around us. Her manager was losing her mind. And the crowd? They were chanting her name, waiting, demanding. Don't go out there and sing about heartbreak if it's not real anymore. I told her, I can't give you the life you're used to. I'm messy. I'm haunted. But I want you. All of you. And I'll fight like hell to deserve you. Her eyes were glassy. One blink, and a tear escaped down her cheek. I reached for her hand. She didn't pull away. Then someone in the wings shouted,
1 minute!
The stage lights flared behind her. She turned toward the curtain, then back to me. And for one breathless second, the whole world waited.
I stepped into the light, and for the first time in weeks, I wasn't performing for the cameras or the crowd or the label. I wasn't trying to prove I was strong or sexy or untouchable. I was just singing. Singing with a heart that had been ripped open and stitched together in the arms of the man sitting somewhere out there, watching me now. Aidan Blake, storm in human form, my storm. The first chord hit, a slow, aching piano that settled deep into my bones. I closed my eyes and let go. Each word came out raw, like they'd been carved out of me. I didn't need the mic's stand to hold me up. It was the memory of his kiss backstage, of his voice cracking when he said he wanted all of me, that kept me standing. The audience disappeared. The lights blurred. All I could see was him, shadowed in the front rows, hands clenched, eyes locked on me like I was the only thing tethering him to this earth. When I reached the final chorus, my voice didn't tremble. It soared. I didn't hold back. I wanted him to feel it. I wanted everyone to feel it. The pain, the forgiveness, the love. And when the last note faded into silence, the world stood still for half a second. Then the applause erupted. Loud, wild, unrelenting.
But I didn't bow.
I didn't smile. I just looked at him, straight into his eyes. And I swear I saw his chest rise like he'd been holding his breath the entire performance. The curtain fell, and with it, the weight I'd been carrying for too long. Backstage was chaos. People shouting, hugging me, thrusting flowers into my arms. But I barely registered any of it. I was walking fast, moving through the noise like a woman possessed. I found him in the hallway, just past the dressing rooms. Alone, waiting. His suit jacket was half undone, tie loose, eyes devouring me the moment I stepped into view.
You were?
He started. I dropped the bouquet on a nearby chair and reached for him. No more words, I said. And then we were on each other, mouths crashing, hands pulling, gripping, desperate. He backed me into the wall, his body pressing into mine like he needed to feel every inch of skin, every breath. I wrapped my leg around his waist, fingers tangled in his hair, and kissed him until we both forgot how to stand still. This wasn't just lust. It wasn't just love. It was need. Hunger. Relief. The kind that shatters you and remakes you all at once.
Tell me this is real.
He whispered against my neck, voice hoarse. I cupped his face and looked at him. Truly looked at him. It always was.
I didn't sleep that night. Not because of nerves. Not even because of what happened backstage. Her hands in my hair, her lips on mine. The way we kissed like we'd just come back from war and were starving for each other. No, I didn't sleep because, for the first time in a long time, I was imagining a future that didn't feel like a cage. It felt like her. So when I waited outside her penthouse the next morning, coffee in one hand, keys in the other, I didn't knock like a man asking for a visit. I knocked like a man asking for everything. She opened the door in a robe, messy hair, eyes heavy with that smoky aftermath of too much adrenaline and not enough rest. And I almost lost my nerve. Almost. But then she looked at me, and the silence between us, that old enemy, wasn't cold anymore. It was heavy with something real.
Come in,
She said, stepping aside. I didn't come to talk, I told her, stepping past the threshold. I came to ask. She arched a brow.
Ask what?
I set the coffee on her counter, turned to face her, and pulled out the extra key to my place. To come home. Her lips parted, but I kept going. Not as a guest, not as someone passing through. I want you in that house, in that life, mine. And I know I've been a bastard, cold, closed off, guarded, but I'm done hiding behind that. I'm not asking for perfect. I'm asking for real. I stepped closer, holding her gaze. I want your music in the kitchen, your clothes in my drawers, your perfume on my pillows. I want you to curse at my alarm clock and steal my hoodies and yell at me when I forget to eat. I want you, Valentina. She didn't say anything for a moment, just stared at me like she was trying to read every line of my soul. Then she moved forward, slowly, until her hand touched my chest.
Say that last part again.
She murmured, I want you.
No conditions?
None. She tilted her head.
Good, because I have one.
Of course she did. She was fire. She was steel wrapped in satin. I'm listening.
If I'm coming back, Aidan, it's not to live in a gilded cage. I won't play house with a man who doesn't know how to live. I want Sunday mornings barefoot in the garden. I want midnight road trips. I want real laughter, not just the shadow of it.
Her voice was calm, but her eyes, they burned.
I want to matter more than your demons.
She stepped back then, as if daring me to step forward, and I did. I closed the distance and cupped her face, brushing my thumb under her eye. You already do, I said, and I'll prove it every day, starting now. She smiled then, a slow, devastating thing that unraveled me in all the best ways.
Then what are we waiting for?
I kissed her, deep and slow, and this time it wasn't rushed or desperate. It was a promise. When we finally pulled apart, I handed her the key. She looked at it, then at me.
Guess I better unpack my bags.
And just like that, the door wasn't just open. It was ours.
I didn't expect the silence of that town to feel like a melody waiting to be born. The same streets that once felt too quiet, too slow, now welcomed me like a familiar rhythm I'd finally learned to appreciate. There was no paparazzi, no flashing lights, just morning mist over the hills and the soft creak of old wooden floors beneath bare feet. And him, always him. Aidan at the piano was a thing I never knew I needed to see until it became the image that woke me up every morning. He played without looking at the keys, eyes on me like I was the song. Play it again, I whispered one afternoon, curling beside him on the bench.
He smirked.
That's the 5th time.
I know. Just one more.
So he did.
Fingers sliding over ivory like silk, coaxing a haunting, unfinished melody that ached with the kind of beauty that only comes from someone who's been through hell and still chose to love. And that's when I started to hum. Just a few notes.
Raw.
Unfiltered. He paused, lifted his gaze.
That yours?
Not yet. We stayed like that for a moment, breathless, caught in something more intimate than any kiss. Creation. From the ash and quiet of who we used to be. I leaned into him, my lips brushing his ear. Right with me.
Only if we write in bed.
I laughed, but the truth was I wanted that, too. All of it. So that night we did. The sheets tangled at our feet, my notebook open across his lap, me wearing nothing but one of his shirts and a melody in my mouth that refused to stay silent. Change the chord here, I said, pressing a hand to his chest like it was the metronome. He looked down at me, eyes darker than the night outside.
You know what you do to me when you talk about music while looking like that?
I'm trying to work, maestro, I teased. He kissed me then, slow and deliberate, like every touch was a lyric, every sigh a harmony. The song we wrote that night wasn't perfect. It changed with each sunrise, took shape with each kiss, grew louder every time we laughed or fought or made love with the windows wide open. But when we finally played it, just the two of us, no audience, no producers, no pressure, it felt like the kind of song that wasn't made for charts. It was made for us. Two broken notes, finally in tune.
Some mornings, I still wake before the sun. Old habit. Years of needing to control the day before it could control me. But now, I wake because of her voice. Soft, soulful, coming from the kitchen or the shower, or just across the bed while she's tangled in sheets and dreams, humming some melody she hasn't written down yet. And every time, it stops me in my tracks. There's no audience, no spotlight, no applause, just her, in my arms, in my house, in my life, Valentina Monroe. The chaos I never saw coming, and the calm I never knew I needed. We live slow now, and loud. She sings barefoot, spinning in oversized sweaters. I compose with a pencil behind my ear and her head in my lap. We argue about chord progressions and kiss through every disagreement, like we're still in the honeymoon phase of something that never really had a name. And the music we make, it's not just for stages anymore. It's in the way I brush her hair off her face when she falls asleep on the couch. In the way she always steals the last bite of my toast. In the way I've learned to laugh again. Deep belly deep, like I'm finally alive. Love sounds like all of it. But nothing could have prepared me for the sound she made the night she told me. We were in the studio. Late, her voice was hoarse from hours of takes, and I was leaning over the mixing console, tweaking levels that were already perfect just to keep her in the room a little longer. She walked over, slow, sat on the edge of the piano, her eyes locked on mine.
I need you to hear something.
I turned. Is it a melody? She shook her head, biting back the smallest smile. Then she took my hand and laid it gently over her stomach and whispered,
No, it's a heartbeat.
I didn't move. Couldn't. The world stopped spinning for a second too long. Val. Her eyes were glassy, glowing.
We're having a baby.
I forgot how to breathe. Forgot everything I ever knew about music or timing or fear. All I could do was pull her into my arms and hold on like she was my anchor in a sea I'd never learned to swim. A baby. Our baby. I kissed her like I was falling in love all over again. I probably was. And later that night, while she curled into me, already drifting into sleep with a soft smile on her lips, I sat at the piano. Didn't overthink it. Didn't plan. Just played. And for the first time in my life, I heard it, the sound I never knew I was chasing. The sound of forever.
The storm had passed just before dawn. A warm rain. Soft thunder rolling in the distance like a whisper instead of a warning. And then silence. That sacred kind of silence that only comes before everything changes. I was exhausted, shaking,
Crying.
laughing, all at once. And then I heard it. That sound. Tiny, fierce, and impossibly alive. Our baby's first cry. It tore through the quiet like a melody written just for us. Raw and beautiful, like a song that had been building for years in the spaces between all the pain and all the love. I turned to look at Aidan. His eyes were locked on the tiny bundle in the nurse's arms, like he was seeing a miracle in real time and didn't know if he deserved it. His lips were parted, but no words came out. Just that look. That look. The one he gives me when I sing. The one he gave me the first time he said, "I love you." The one that says thank you for choosing me. The nurse came closer, placed the baby in my arms. And the moment I felt her, warm, perfect, impossibly small, my heart shattered and healed at the same time. A girl. Our daughter. She opened her eyes, and I swear to God, she already had his quiet fire. Aidan's fingers brushed against mine as we held her together, and I looked at him through tears. "I want to name her Isabel," I whispered. He didn't move, didn't blink, just froze, like the air had been knocked out of him. Then he nodded once, his jaw clenched tight, the way it does when he's trying not to break.
Are you sure?
He finally managed. I cupped the back of our daughter's head. Yes, for her, and for you. Because maybe some things don't end. They just come back when we're ready. His eyes filled, spilling over without shame. He leaned in, kissed our baby girl's forehead, then mine. And just like that, it wasn't just the three of us in that room. It was a memory reborn. A legacy rewritten. A song finally whole. Isabel Monroe Blake. The beginning of everything new.